Melissa Barrera, welcome to the Variety After Show. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you for having me.
And you just watched the episode with the cast. How fun was that?
It was so much fun. It's so crazy to see it and think that it's the last premiere that we're ever going to have. It's kind of it's bittersweet
Yeah.
because we love this show so much and this is the last season. But we're also so proud of it. We couldn't wait to share it with the world, and now it's out there, so we're happy about that.
Okay, so let's talk about this episode because there's a lot to break down.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing Lyn really kind of take the reins and come into her own now.
Yeah, she is. I'm so proud of her. I feel like Lyn has grown so much from where we met her in season one. She's growing up. She
Yeah.
really has grown up a lot, and she's taken responsibility. She's being contributing to the bar. She has great ideas. She's actually
Yes.
really smart. She's just, like a lot of people can feel identified with the fact that people underestimate you sometimes by, the color of your skin, sometimes by your gender, sometimes by your sexuality. It can be a lot of reasons. But Lyn is one of those women that was underestimated her entire life. And so she really didn't even believe in herself. She didn't think that she was very smart. She didn't think that she was very useful, that she couldn't really build anything in her life. And this is her proving herself wrong and proving everyone wrong. So I love to get to experience that.
I love that. And also, she's a character who we've seen really influenced by the men in her life. And maybe she's starting to break out of that a little bit. Like that's what I got from watching the episode.
Yeah. She's lived her entire life kind of becoming whatever the man in turn, whatever the relationship that she's in, wants her to be. Um, and I feel like that's also a very universal thing. Women's and we catch ourselves doing it to some degree when we're in a new relationship. We kind of want to impress our partner. We want to, be doing things so that they to keep the interest and to keep the flame going. And sometimes that means not being truthful and not letting them see exactly who we are. But Lyn goes, you know, way above and beyond, and she transforms. She's a chameleon.
Yes.
And that can be good because it means that she's adapting. But in this case, for her, it means that she loses herself in the process. She
Right.
completely forgoes who she actually is and just becomes whoever the person that she's with wants her to be. And we had seen her in seasons 1 and 2 talk about it. And we'd seen other people talk about it because it's a thing that she's known for. But we hadn't actually seen it happen. We hadn't seen her transformation kind of happen before our eyes. And what I love about this season is that we are going to get to see that. We're going to get to see that, and we're going to get to see that not only with her relationship, but also with other men in her life that aren't her romantic interests.
I have some questions about the other men in her life, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad that you brought up the adapting part because there is that scene. First of all, let's talk about Rudy's mom.
Uh-huh. Yes. The monster-in-law. It's too soon to call her that because
Okay.
every mother is protective of their children, and mothers of men, I feel like, are a lot more like that because there's some kind of like they're territorial in a way. They want to be the women, the most important woman in their son's life, and sometimes that can get a little uncomfortable for the girlfriends or the wives.
Yeah.
In this case, I think what's so fascinating about what's happening with Lyn is that he comes from a Mexican family, like legit, born in Mexico, lived in Mexico, then moved to the United States. So there's this thing that goes on, and I think it happens not only in the Latinx community, but in all communities,
Yeah.
all minority communities, all communities that immigrated to the United
Let's
States.
not even talk about Chinese moms,
Right,
right?
yeah. So there's this thing of like, who who deserves the title more of being Mexican or of being Chinese or of being, you know, Lebanese or, wherever you're from.
Right.
But and so we get to see that kind of classism slash discrimination of that ethnicity. I don't even know what, if there's a title for it, of the discrimination of your own people. But because Lyn is Mexican American and doesn't know how to speak Spanish fluently, Rudy's family is like, oh, she's not good enough for my son. She's not good enough for him. She's not Mexican enough. And we get to explore this identity crisis that a lot of children of immigrants go through, and they feel this thing of like, I'm not enough of one thing and I'm not enough of the other, because I'm stuck in this limbo, because I'm half. I was born in this place that's not mine, that's not of my people fully, and I'm constantly reminded of that in the media, that I'm not enough, that I'm not American enough, but I'm also not Mexican enough because I'm not familiar with that. My family's from that country, but I'm not. So it's this thing of policing each other that we do, that communities do, that sometimes people feel like they have the right to say who is more valuable and who is less valuable because of their experience, because of grew up.
Oh, Melissa, did I?
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Got a call.
Well, I was going to say, I think
and Lyn goes through that. Yeah. Lyn goes through that in this episode. We get to see it. And she has this whole conversation where she's like thinking out loud, and she's like, I was born with a broken tongue, and like I have all these issues, and it's not even my fault. Like, I didn't choose to be born this way. I didn't choose to be like a second generation Mexican American.
I do appreciate how deliciously passive aggressive Rudy's mom is. She was just so good with that. But that experience of being second generation Mexican American, not being able to speak Spanish fluently, that couldn't be further from your own experience.
Right. It's funny because I'm Mexican and I grew up in Mexico. My first language is Spanish. And Rudy's family Tanya wrote them to be from my hometown. Like, they're from Monterrey, which is where I'm from.
And they make that joke about it too.
And make that joke about it because, people from my hometown tend to be very judgmental because we're so close to the border and everyone speaks English, and it's a very Americanized kind of town, very wealthy too. And so there's this like superiority kind of thing. And Tanya wanted to really play on that. And what better way than to have the family look down on Lyn, not only because she can't speak Spanish and because she's underdressed to this party, but because she was born in a lower middle class family in East LA and doesn't have the education that they have, and all of these things that I honestly used to do. If I'm being completely honest, I used to be that person. So it was fascinating for me to be in that scene and be thinking like, oh, this is actually like Melissa in her maybe like high school years, meeting Lyn and judging her fully.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like for you, for it to be so personal?
It was kind of gross, honestly. It was gross to think that I used to be that way, because I feel like since I moved to LA 3 years ago, it opened my mind to the whole spectrum of the Latinx experience. And being on this show, being on Vida specifically, introduced me and educated me in a lot of themes and a lot of issues that people are going through that I had no idea. I was just, like living my own life in Mexico. I was in Mexico City prior to LA. So I was, doing my thing and not really knowing what the experience of being Latino or Latina and living in the United States and being born there means. You always just think, oh, like it must be kind of similar but different, because it's another country. But you don't really think of emotionally the toll that it can take on a human being to live and grow up feeling like you don't fully belong and you're not fully welcome in your own country. And so I feel like I've I've grown up, thank God. I've lived in places, like I moved out of Monterrey. I lived in New York for a while, then I lived in Mexico City. Now I'm living in LA. So I'm thankful that I've had that opportunity to also live in other places and meet all kinds of people, and you know, talk to them and learn about their lives and their experiences. And I feel like that's a beautiful way to become less judgmental and more accepting of each person and the beauty of each individual experience, whatever it is, and the value in that, that each person's life is as valuable and as important in this world as the next. Like, we are all equally important. And so getting to play in that scene and think that I used to come from that, I don't even know what to call it, like this horrible mentality, that horrible, judgmental, um, way of thinking. I am so happy that I grew out of it, and that I'm now, I feel like it's my responsibility to also pay it forward and to continue to fight and look for projects like Vida that are so beautifully inclusive and and give voice to a lot of communities that didn't have them before.
Right. It is the last season, like we had mentioned, of the show. And, you know, what do you hope people get from watching a show that is so proudly Latinx, that brings to the surface these very uncomfortable issues, some of them uncomfortable, but
Yes.
really speaks to what is happening, what people are dealing with?
Well, I love, firstly, that the show is so proudly and boldly Latinx, because I feel like we needed it as a community. We needed a show like this, and I see it in the comments that I get on social media. The, you know, how much it means to people, and the fact that this show for a lot of people is the first time that they're seeing themselves on screen, or a story that resembles theirs on screen. But what I love even more is finding that it is bigger than the Latinx community. Like, a lot of people that come from different backgrounds can still identify with these characters, because at the core, this story, even though it's like painted and weaved in all of these like beautiful, very specific to the Latinx culture things, like the food, the colors, the Spanglish, all of it is very true to us and very specific. But it's also universal in that it's a family. It's a family drama. It's a family story. It's a story about sisters. It's a story about identity and finding your place in a community, and all the mess that comes with that. And the secrets, the family secrets that unveil when you discover for the first time. I remember, you know, thinking the first time that I found out that my mom wasn't perfect. You know, when you're a kid, you think your parents are gods and goddesses, that they're perfect and they can do no wrong. And when you start to realize that they're not perfect, that they have pasts and that they made mistakes, and it starts to crack that thing, it can be very traumatic for people. And that's what happens in this story. They discover secrets that their mom never told them after she dies, and it completely tumbles their world. It like shakes them and makes them, you know, reassess their entire lives. Their entire lives have been lies, basically. And that's hard for anyone, I think. That's why the show has been, the people that are watching us are so connected to the characters, because they're so human and so flawed and so well-rounded. It's a messy show, and life is messy.
And part of that messiness, like you said, the family secrets, their dad coming back into the picture this season. I feel like it's been teased. Yes.
Imagine thinking that your father has been dead for over 15 years, and then all of a sudden they tell you, oh no, he's alive and he's been living like 30 minutes away the entire time.
I mean, how much of the Hernandez sisters, how much of their, I don't want to say issues, but their issues, how much do you think comes from them not having their dad around?
I would say like 50% of the issues come from not having their dad around, and 50% of the issues come from their mom being around and behaving in the
Yeah.
way that she did and treating them so differently.
Yeah.
I feel like all of our issues as human beings are inherited from our parents. Whether we want to believe it or not, I think it's just a fact. Whether they're absent parents, whether they're present parents, it's funny because I'm one of four sisters. We have the same mother. She has done the same for all of us, giving us the same things, been supportive in the same way. And it's funny to see how for each of us, we all have a different image of our mother. We all have a different experience of what that is. And that's really us. It's our, the story that we tell ourselves in our brain and our character that makes that. And so I feel like parents can't save us from having mommy and daddy issues. They can't. It's all that we are. We're trying to get through life resolving our mommy and our daddy issues. And so these women are really messed up because their mom dies and they find out that she had been married to a woman and didn't tell them. And then they find out that their mom had told them that their dad had died when they were little. And all of a sudden, he's alive, living close by, but never looked for them. So it's like,
It's a lot of stuff.
You can get, it's a lot to
of,
deal with.
It's a
So
lot
you
to deal
can't
with,
really
yeah.
you can't really blame these sisters for being as chaotic as they are and as, and having so many walls up because they've dealt with a lot and they've had to survive a lot.
Yeah. This show has also been so integral to your career, to your introduction to American audiences. I think Tanya Stracho said that this was the first show that, like, you got your visa because of this show, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I moved to LA and I was in the process of getting my O1 visa, but it's a horrible process. I mean, maybe some of you know, maybe you've gone through it, but it's just like so much paperwork and asking for so many favors because you need letters of recommendation and you need all these things. And then because all my stuff was in Spanish, I needed it all translated and notaried and stamped. And it's just like, it was taking so long. So I decided that I didn't want to wait to move. So I moved on my tourist visa. I came over with my 2 bags and I was like, I'm here. I'm going to start auditioning because what are the chances that I'll get anything before my visa comes? Like, I was estimating that it was going to be 6 months to a year before I got a job. And I was, I had my savings that I had saved up working in Mexico and telenovelas and in theater and everything. And I was ready for that. And then I get here and 2 weeks in, I get the audition for Vida. And then 2 weeks later, I get the show. And I still didn't have it. I just still didn't have all the paperwork ready.
Wow.
So I was freaking out because I thought that I was going to lose the opportunity because I didn't have my visa. I thought that they weren't going to want me, obviously, because it's rare that someone will want to go through all the paperwork and all the, the process for you when they're a company.
Right.
And I was lucky that Tanya and Carmen Cuba, our casting director, and Robin Schwartz, our producer from Big Beach, they all fought for me. They were like, we want her. Like, she is Lyn. There's no one else. And we want to wait for her. And so they, Stars took over my file or whatever, my case file, and they pushed back the shoot to wait for my visa to come through. So I was very, very fortunate, and this show definitely changed my life. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Vida.
So when you hear people in this administration in the U.S. talk about immigrants and people who come over from other countries to work and to contribute, and the rhetoric that surrounds that, which is so negative, especially with regards to Latin America and with regards to Mexico, how does that make you feel? How do you react?
It's tough for me because I almost feel like I can have no say in that because I'm not a citizen of the United States. There's a lot of things that I would love to voice my opinion on, but
Sure.
also I have that fear of I'm on a visa that this country gave me to work. And right now I just applied for a green card because my work visa is about to expire and I want to keep working. I want to keep being in this country that has given me so much and welcomed me, and I want to keep working here. And then these kinds of things happen, but I also know that they check when they check your social media, they check your media presence, and they've ripped visas. Like, I know people that their visas have been ripped in their face because they've grabbed their phones, checked their Twitter, and if they said anything negative, they were like, oh, you're not welcome here anymore. So it's
It's a
always a
scary
delicate,
position.
it's
Yeah,
a
it's
scary
delicate.
position to be in because
Yeah.
I feel like, obviously, I'm not I'm not okay with a lot of the things that are being said. I think it's it's unfair, and it's not true to, like, all the people that come to this country to work hard and to do jobs that a lot of people wouldn't want to do, and that are right now in this moment during this pandemic keeping the country running and getting food to the grocery stores that are still open for people to get food on their tables. And uh and then on the other end, I'm like, I can't be fully vocal about it yet in my platforms. I have to be careful.
Yeah.
So but one day I will be able to. I trust that, like, this is not the time. I feel like my hands are tied right now at this moment. But I hope that one day, when my platform is bigger and my voice can be louder, I will be able to use it for good, to protect people and to make a difference. That's, I feel like, the way that I'm going to compensate for my silence right now.
Absolutely. I have to ask because it is also very relevant to these topics, but In the Heights deals very much with this topic.
Yeah.
And you finally have a theatrical release date. That's
Yes,
so.
we do. It's so far away though. It's like, oh, it's so sad. I'm like, I can't. We're all dying. Like, you don't even know. We're all dying to share this movie with the world.
Yeah.
Like, In the Heights is magic. It's like pure magic. It's exactly what we need right now. It's exactly the kind of movie that's gonna fill your entire heart and make you so happy, and give you hope for the future, and make a lot of people feel validated in their day to day and in their life and in their struggle. I feel like it's paying, it's honoring immigrants. It's what it is. It's a celebration of immigrants and the struggle and the pain of generations that we carry. But we're gonna have to wait a little longer, I guess. That's this pandemic really did come to tell us who's boss. It's not playing with games. It literally came, and it's affecting everyone in different ways. Now we're gonna, we wanted to share it this summer. We were all very excited, but I'm also happy that Warner Brothers is conscious that it's a theatrical release. We need to see it on the big screen. If they had just said, all right, we'll release In the Heights for streaming and everyone can see it in their house, I would have been, I think, disappointed, because it's such a spectacle. It's the numbers are huge, and it's just so much energy, and like, like hundreds of dancers on the screen, and the songs. It's just it needs to be seen with friends, with family, and on a big screen. So at least we have that, and it'll be worth the wait. That's something that I can
Right.
promise you.
Right. And at a time, hopefully, where we can all fully, like, full body enjoy this.
Yeah, we want people to feel safe. We don't
Right.
want people to be scared to go to the theaters. And we honestly, we don't know what the future of theaters is going to be like. They're still, figuring that out. There's going to be regulations probably. Theaters are not going to be able to be at full capacity because there's going to be like, seats in between. So we were all talking and thinking like, do we want that, or do we want packed theaters of people, dancing and singing to our movie? And I think that was a wise choice. So, June 18th, 2021, that's the day.
Mark your calendars,
Mark your
everybody.
calendars. Yeah.
I love that you have this background in telenovelas.
Yes.
I used to watch them when I was in high school for Spanish class.
Oh, really? You know
Yes.
what? A lot of people learn Spanish watching
Yes.
telenovelas. It's a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We watched them. So what is the key to a good, I don't know, like what's the key to being a telenovela star? Like what's the line that you have to master? What's like the expression that you have to master?
I mean, you know what? I feel like I was never in that mood fully. I was always kind of a little bit more natural and contained in my acting. And, but you gotta learn a lot of scenes every day. Like, I feel like I have such good memory. Memory is a muscle, right? And my training, the 4 years that I did telenovelas, really made my memory be so good. Like I can learn a scene by looking at it once, because I used to have to learn 30 scenes every day. And that was just the norm. That was the rhythm of work. And it was Monday through Saturday. In the US, we're also spoiled because of, the SAG rules and all that. It's like Monday through Friday. And if you're gonna work on Saturday, they like ask permission, and they're like, would you be okay? In Mexico, it's like, oh, Monday through Saturday, sometimes even Sunday.
Wow.
There's no like resting rules. Like the hours are just crazy. So I feel like all that felt like literal boot camp prepared me for the rest of my life and for working in the US and it all just feels so breezy and fun now because I was used to that rhythm, and it was so hardcore. And now everything is just like, oh, 12-hour days. Yeah, okay, that seems chill. I get to, get home and like hang out still and talk and like take in Mexico, it was like get home, sleep, wake up, go back to work. Like it was just, and it's a fascinating world. Telenovelas are a fascinating industry in themselves. Like my telenovela, like actually one of my telenovelas is premiering tomorrow in Venezuela. Like they're still running. My telenovelas are like all over the world, in Africa, in Asia, all over Latin America. Like they run and run and run. People love them. People love the melodrama, and they're so long.
So great.
And you have all these, like I had fights in the elevator, fights in the mud, falling down the stairs, falling out of like a building, on a helicopter. Like I did all the things because they're so long that they just like have to resort to doing everything that comes into their minds. And it's a really, I'm glad that I started on that.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad that was my first acting experience, because I don't know that I would have been able to do it after doing something like Vida.
Yeah.
That had to be my introduction, because that was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, the rhythm of life and the learning so many lines, and also the chicharo. Like you use a little earpiece, like in live TV.
Yes.
The first telenovela that I ever did, I was the supporting character that sometimes would just open the door. And that was my participation in an 11-hour workday. It would be me opening the door and being like, yes, I'll get them. And that was it.
But did you do it with like flair? Did you do it with like the dramatic turn?
No,
No, you just opened
I
the
never
door.
was good. I never was good at that. I swear, I never was good at that. There are some actors though that are brilliant, and they're like they'll look for their light. Like, let's say I'm talking to you,
Yeah.
and they'll be like that, talking to you because the light is there, and that's how they look the best. Like, it's just like another world. It's fascinating. It's amazing. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm so proud that I did that. And that taught me a lot. Like, doing telenovelas really did teach me a lot.
Amazing. Um, is there any hope for Johnny and Lyn? I think
That is the
I
question.
think,
That's a
well,
really
not to
good
give away
question.
to anything to everybody, but I feel like their relationship is evolving,
Yeah.
and I really like how their relationship is evolving. I really like where it's
Yeah.
going.
And you're gonna love it in this season. Season 3 paints their relationship in a completely new light. We've seen them seasons 1 and 2 in like messy chaos, ruining other people's lives, not thinking about the repercussions of
Toxic.
their
It's
actions.
really
Toxic,
toxic. Yeah.
very toxic. But we've never actually like delved into why it is that they're so attached to each other. Like, what was the beginning of their relationship like? Why are they each other's person? And we get to see that in season 3. We get to see them in a non-sexual relationship of just being there for each other in moments of vulnerability and moments when they're like, there's no one else that I can open up to but you right now. And I think it's gonna make Johnny and Lyn fans fall even more in love with them, because it justifies like why they're so great together. And it's also, difficult because Johnny now has a baby and is in a really trying to make it work with the baby mama. And Lyn is for the first time in a relationship that's non-toxic with Rudy. And so they both seem to be in relationships that are good for them. And they're, trying to have this friendship and coexist in this universe because they kind of have to. And there is closure. I think it's an unexpected kind of closure for people, but I love it. I personally love the way that Tanya, ended that little circle.
Before I let you go, we're asking everyone, what are you binging while we are all in this crazy time, while we are all staying safer at home?
Yes. Well, I binged Tiger King.
Of
I
course.
couldn't stay away.
Okay. So do you
I was
think
like,
Carol Baskin, the husband?
oh, fully. She totally killed him. Sorry, Carol. But it's so shady, so suspicious. Like, no, if the sardine oil. Why didn't they do that? I was like, why did you just say that? Did you just dig your own
Whoa.
grave? Sketchy. And I just started watching Mrs. Maisel, actually,
Oh.
for the first time. I had never watched it, and I just started watching it, and I'm really enjoying it. It's so different from Vida. Like, it's,
Yes.
the complete opposite. Super white, Jewish, New York, other coast, and then this is like Latino, West Coast, totally
Yeah.
LA. And so I love the juxtaposition of the two worlds.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. That's it. Not much. I'm finding that in quarantine at the beginning, because now we're in day 40 something, at least I am.
Yeah.
And at the beginning I watched everything. Like, I watched everything that there was to watch. And now I'm finding that like my attention span is weird. I can't concentrate.
Yeah.
I like start something and I'm like, all right, no, I have to move and like do something else. So I'm having a hard time doing that.
It's getting to
But
that time. It's getting to
right?
that time. Yeah, I'm like 1 episode, 2 episodes, I'm good. Like, I
Yes.
can at max.
Yeah. Agreed.
What are you gonna miss most about playing Lyn?
Oh, everything. I feel like each character that I play, I miss fully, because leaving them is sort of like breaking up with someone. It's painful because it's saying goodbye. And I had never been with a character for as long as I've been with Lyn, for 3 years. This is like my longest relationship with a character that I played. And I had this friend, this actor friend in Mexico, that said that you can't ever take off a character's skin without ripping a little bit of your own. So it's it's sad. It really is sad to think that I'm never gonna, you know, get into her clothes, into her little chanclitas, into her like epic sweaters and things
Oh,
anymore.
those kimonos. Those
I
are
know, right? The
so
best. I love
cute.
her wardrobe. But yeah, I'm gonna miss how much fun she had because she's so spontaneous and I think out of all the characters, I'm glad that I got to be her because I think she has the most fun. She has the most quirky, awesome relationships with the most interesting characters, and she grew a lot. So I'm gonna miss her freedom. I'm gonna miss how free she is.
Love that. Well, we get to see that in the final season because it just started. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
everybody to see that and excited to see how this all ends. Melissa, this was so great to talk to you.
Thank
I
you.
am such a fan of the show. I'm such a fan of yours and everything that you all have been doing on this show.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us on the
Thank you so
after
much. That means a
show.
lot. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you. And
you.
watch Vida every Sunday on Stars.
Yes.
Last season.
Thanks so much, Melissa. We'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.